On behalf of the Sustainability Reporting Standard Board of ICAI, I, Jyoti Singh, extend a warm welcome to all of you to the 23rd session of our webinar series Demystifying Sustainability, Catalyzing Growth. Today's session is centered around a critical theme, greenwashing and sustainability claims. We are honored to have with us our esteemed speaker, CA S. Badrinarayan ji, and our moderator for today, CA Kinjal Naren Shah ji. Let us now begin. I would like to invite CA Kinjal Naren Shah ji to kindly take the session forward.
Hello, thank you everyone. I would like to introduce our faculty for the day, CA S. Badrinarayan. Shri CA S. Badrinarayan, a multifaceted professional with strong academic and professional credentials, holding degrees and certifications across finance, law, and sustainability, a chartered accountant, company secretary, law graduate, and MCOM first division from Delhi University, bringing deep expertise in corporate governance, compliance, taxation, and financial management. Certified as a social auditor, NISM certification, and trained in sustainability reporting with a focused interest in responsible business practices and ESG disclosures. Additionally, he holds a certification on Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016, enhancing capabilities in restructuring, insolvency processes, and corporate revival strategies. With global outlook, also completed 120 hours of A1 level French language certification, strengthening cross cultural communication skills. Combining technical knowledge, regulatory expertise, and sustainability orientation, the profile reflects a well rounded professional committed to ethical practices, governance, excellence, and forward looking corporate solutions. Now I hand over to the faculty.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Kinjal ma'am, and thanks to the Sustainability Standards Board for giving me this opportunity. And this is a very good series being conducted by the board to disseminate knowledge amongst all our members. Sustainability is a hot trending topic, and climate change is a reality. And everybody knows that we live in this reality. We are seeing floods in deserts, and vice versa, and things are changing very very fast. And even now, if you hook up on news, you can see floods in various part of the country as well. So climate change is going to necessitate a lot of sustainability practices, and also it's going to change our way of living, the way we think about sustainability and the way our lifestyle is going to be. So today's topic is going to be greenwashing. So that's completely exactly opposite of what sustainability is and what sustainability is claimed by the organizations and by many people who tout for sustainability. Allow me to share my screen. It's a very new topic. I'd say the concept is not new, but since sustainability reporting itself is kind of evolving very fast, you have European Union's CSRD reporting, BRSR is going through a lot of changes. So greenwashing is, adequately, you have less jurisprudence on it. It's still evolving. People have been making misleading claims, but how to catch that, how to regulate that, these things are pretty new even now. And there are a lot of other terminologies also which we will see in the session today. So the session's name is Greenwashing and Sustainability Claims. So obviously we'll be looking at what is greenwashing and what kind of claims will come under greenwashing. So the broad objectives of today's session will be to understand if any definition exists about greenwashing, what is the general conception when you speak about greenwashing, and then what are the factors in India which may be leading to greenwashing. Now, we should also have an India focused session so that we know what opportunities we can lag on to and what works best for us as chartered accountants, how we can indulge with organizations to prevent greenwashing, how we can help them build internal controls to verify sustainability claims, what kind of third party certifications are there. So these things we'll definitely look on to. We'll also understand about what regulatory framework is there in India and globally. As I said, the concept may be old. People have been doing it for a long time, but the regulation around it and how to make sure it's foolproof and tight, that's still evolving and that's still in very nascent stages. You have parallel regulations, guidelines, legislations for it, but you don't have a comprehensive framework how to tackle greenwashing. So we'll look at what is available. We'll also look at what is happening globally. Then we'll look at some cases of greenwashing, both global and Indian. We'll look at some top cases which have been identified from public domain, and also in India generally what can fall under greenwashing, what you as a consumer and as a chartered accountant should know. Those things will be there. We'll also look at two surveys which I picked out, which seemed very useful to read about. We will be sharing this or uploading this, I'm sure, on the portal also later, and we'll find the insights from those surveys. And then we look at what organizations can do, what are the best practices, how they have to do a life cycle assessment, how they have to find out sustainability claims across its value chain, because greenwashing claims may not just be from your organization, it may also be from your value chain. It can be top stream, downstream, any stakeholder related to you who comes in your product's life cycle can be having a false claim, which may in turn impact your reputation and damage your reputation. So we look at what best practices are available and what organization can do, and some damages of greenwashing which necessitates those best practices, and obviously some more reference points and developments which have been happening in the field. Now, what exactly is greenwashing, right? So we recently have got a guideline from CCPA under Consumer Protection Act, which attempts to define greenwashing. Although it's a very broad definition, but it does give a very sincere attempt to define greenwashing. Now, in general terms, greenwashing will refer to the act of making exaggerated or false claim about the environment and readiness or friendliness of a product or service of a company to an environment. Across the session and across the regulations which we'll see for India or a global jurisdiction, you will notice that the guidelines or the regulations would be mostly around advertising. It will be mostly around marketing, that what are the guidelines which companies should follow, best practices to be followed to avoid false marketing, right? So typically greenwashing is seen as a false marketing to show as if a company or its product or its service is environment friendly or sustainable, animal friendly, things which will appeal to the end user or the end customer and nudge that end customer towards buying that product or service. The term is also used to describe marketing efforts to mislead consumers into thinking product is more environmentally friendly. Now we all know, and it's a reality, that now people have got more disposable income and they have become more health conscious, more environmental conscious, and an apple with a label which is organic might have a better chance of selling at a higher margin than an ordinary apple without that label. Now nobody knows if that label has been put as per a proper process, is it verified or not, but that one single round sticker on that apple makes all the difference in the minds of customers. How many of you would even have gone to the vendor and asked, where did this label come from, or how can I verify if this label is taken from appropriate process, right? So these kind of gimmicks, marketing gimmicks or marketing strategies, they try to change the perception of a consumer. They try to build or nudge the consumer towards buying something at extra premium. And I'll show you a video after some slides, and you'll know that the next generations are going to be willing to pay 2x 3x more for a product which just has a label called organic or vegan or animal friendly, things like that, right? And greenwashing can take different forms. It can be using vague or meaningless terms like natural, eco-friendly. In fact, I'll show you some of the case studies which has happened where because of such vague terms, companies have been penalized. Greenwashing can also include using images of nature or greenery in marketing material. You would have seen so many advertisements of water bottles where they will show that it's filled up from water from the Himalayas. We all know that is not realistic, but that is also a marketing tactic. And a lot of claims also come by the manufacturers or the bottlers saying that this has been filled up from a particular place, and they are not founded or substantiated claims. Now there can also be claims which are technically true but irrelevant or insignificant in terms of product's overall impact. So it may happen that a fast fashion retailer is saying we manufacture organic clothes, or we have organic supply chain and our clothes are sustainable. So we'll show you one of the case studies of H&M, which has had this exact claim. But it may be found out that only a portion, maybe 5 or 10% of their manufacturing or textile creation would be sustainable following that particular process which they are boasting of. The other 90% would still be in a harmful way, affecting the environment, using a lot of water, using a lot of energy resources, exploiting labor, right? But they will only give a hype about that 5 or 10% for which they are following some small sustainable practices. That is also greenwashing. Now, since you don't have a uh, concrete definition, which defines that this is greenwashing, this is not greenwashing, you'll have to look at it a very liberal approach. If something is being done which will create a deception and tend the customer or the reader or the person who is listening to it or seeing it or using it to believe that this product or service is environmental friendly, has been made from raw materials procured from a sustainable supply chain, following all best practices, all those efforts or all those mischiefs will be termed as greenwashing. Now, it's a serious issue. Why? Because you're playing with trust, right? Any company, how big it may be, once it loses the loyalty of customer or the trust of consumers, its fortune may turn overnight. It may be $1 billion company, but once it loses its trust and the customers have a negative perception of that company because they did greenwashing or they did a fraud or they claimed something which was not there and they shook the trust of the customers, then overnight they'll be their entire reputation and their entire financials will go for a toss. So it's a very serious thing to happen because consumers are trusting your company while buying your products and services. They feel that you have made a claim and as a loyal customer or as for brand loyalty, they believe that claim. So there should not be any false claims. And also this will impact the investors because ultimately the numbers get tied to the investors. The bottom line comes from the sales, and any such effect and which destroys the customer base will have an effect on bottom line. And then the investors are also going to be very apprehensive and worried. And now they are not going to fund you more. They are not going to give you more investment. They might also exit from the organization. It will also affect key managerial persons or independent directors who may not want to be associated with such a company. So a lot of issues may come if the company follows greenwashing, and coupled with other regulatory issues and penalties which will come as complementary. Now, just wanted to check, we have all heard about greenwashing. Almost all of us would have heard about greenwashing, but how many of you would have known that there is a term called green blushing, also known as green hushing, and green wishing? I'm sorry, it's there is a typo. It's not green washing; it's green wishing at the last sentence. So, how many of us know that there is also a term called green blushing slash green hushing or green wishing? Not many of us would have known that because it doesn't come too often in the conversations. Now, what is green blushing? It's actually exactly opposite to what greenwashing is. Greenwashing is making exaggerated claims, right? You're saying something which you have not done. You say that I've utilized these funds for planting trees, but you have not utilized that for planting trees. You have diverted it somewhere else. You say that your product is 100% organic. It's not organic. It's natural. You claim it's not natural. All those are greenwashing. Green blushing is completely opposite, where the company or the organization downplays its sustainability performance. There can be multiple reasons, which we'll come to in the next slides, but the company or organization here does not transparently disclose about its environmental performances. It's doing a lot of things, but it doesn't want to disclose that. So it's also called green hushing. Now it's well intentioned. uh, not everybody likes to boast. Some will not be doing anything but will be boasting a lot, and some entities will be doing a lot but not boasting at all, and it will show from their actions itself, from their brand loyalty. The customers will know, they don't have to hype about it, right? So like in India, we have a old saying, if you do charity from one hand, the other hand should not know, right? So you should not boast about things, but although it's well intentioned, it should also be avoided. Both greenwashing and green blushing or green hushing. You can't have extremes of both, because if you do green blushing or green hushing and you are not disclosing your environmental efforts, then you are at a risk of missing good opportunities. There may be sustainability funds which want to invest in a particular segment, and your company may be falling in that segment, but because you are not reporting your environmental efforts, your sustainability milestones, you are losing out on those opportunities and on those funds. So again, you have to be very careful about both these things. Both greenwashing, green blushing have to be avoided. It can be risky for companies and harmful in different ways. Now there is also something called green wishing. What does green wishing means? So they're just wishing it to be there, right? So it's an unintentional greenwashing. Greenwashing is with complete full intention. You know you have not done something and you are claiming that I've done this. Greenwashing is unintentional. That's the only difference. Now, it is a practice where a company hopes to meet certain commitments but does not have a wherewithal to do so. Setting up targets like I will be net zero in 3 years without doing a analysis or evaluation, or without having science-based targets, simply setting it. Intention is good. They may want to achieve it also, but they don't have the financial resources or the strategy to achieve that. That is greenwashing. Now, this may be driven by pressure because of competitors, board, investor, all these things, and they have to set milestones, but they cannot realistically achieve because of financial, technological, or other constraints. So these can again result in affecting investors' trust or stakeholders' trust, because you claim something that you will achieve this in 5 years or 10 years, and at the end, you are not able to do that, ultimately resulting in distrust from your stakeholders. Now, green washing versus green blushing. So, green washing was a very small component. It happens a lot. You can check any big companies report. There will be a lot of targets. You can check from the last year, probably last 2 years, and you will know how the targets have changed. Have they been able to measure it properly or not? Are there disclaimers on the measurement or not? And you'll know that a lot of companies do green washing as well. Now, when you come to green washing and green blushing or green hushing, so green washing, if the company is doing greenwashing, it may lead to accusations of dishonesty and misrepresentation. Right? Once you lose your reputation, you've lost your market standing. Right? This can erode trust, damage a company's reputation. Extreme cases can also lead to regulatory actions and legal penalties. So you don't want to go into that zone where you're not friendly with the government, you're not friendly with the regulator. RBI is behind you, or SEBI is behind you. These kind of things can come if a company gets into greenwashing activities. In green blushing, the risk is missed opportunities, right? Because you're doing and you're not reporting, you are losing out on a lot of stuff which you may have if you reported. You may tap onto ESG funds, impact funds. You may have a better relationship with the government, with the regulator, with the stakeholder, with the customer, with the investors, right? You are losing all this. If you want to create a new project somewhere, if your company has a good environmental parameter and they stand good on their promises, and you want to open up probably a new plant somewhere, that zone or ecosystem may be in a special area or a conservative area, in a water stress area. If your company has a good reputation in environmental claims and environmental basis, the regulators there, or the people there, the ecosystem there will at least support. They will at least have that confidence, yes, that this company will take care of all environmental issues for its project. If you are doing greenwashing, nobody is going to get that comfort with you, and obviously things will not be so easy. So it's important for companies to find ways to effectively communicate their sustainability claims. And even one of the top reasons for green blushing is, first, they may think that there is a potential for being accused of greenwashing, that we have done this, we will report it also. But what if somebody says this reporting is exaggerated claim and greenwashing? So they don't want to get into that hassle, the regulatory issues, or they feel that this may backfire. Rather than building a positive reputation, this may in fact drive my customers away or bring me to greater scrutiny. Right? So, but both of them are bad. We have to strike a balance. We can't do greenwashing, and we should not have companies do green blushing. There should be transparent and honest reporting for what they do, and the reporting or the parameters being disclosed in a report has to be backed by substantial evidences. You should have some document for it, and you should promote third party certifications, basis which the readers of sustainability statements also know that whatever is reported is verified independently by a credible third party, and it can be trusted. Now, a little history about how this term was coined. So the concept of greenwashing emerged in 1980s and 90s. This was a time when you can say the Europe and Western countries had this environmental uh, motivation, that everybody was running towards saving the planet, and a lot of enthusiasm about environment. This was the period, and there was an environmentalist called J. Westerwald in 1986 in an essay titled "Greening of Corporate America." He coined this term called greenwashing. And very interestingly, the example he gave, we will see even now in many of our hotels. So, what he said was, he criticized hotels for, you would have seen when you go to a hotel, they will say that, uh, reuse your towels to save environment. Okay. So that happens now also. Any 5 star or 4 star you go, that it will be there. So he criticized the hotels back then in 1986, saying that the hotels are claiming to be sustainable by asking their customers or guests to reuse their towels, although the primary motivation for them is to save laundry costs. So, Westerworld said that this was an example of greenwashing, and companies were using such claims to promote their products without making meaningful changes to environmental practices. That hotel may be using a lot of non-renewable sources of energy, consuming water more than what a hotel of that standard should be consuming, not having a circular economy in place, not recycling its services or whatever products it's there or being disposed of, and polluting the water or river around it, polluting the environment around it. It may be doing a lot of other things. So instead of making meaningful changes in their processes or their service, they bring in these small things to show us if they are doing something sustainable. So this was the background, and this was the essay from which this term was coined. Now we'll see more of such examples also going forward, when we see about what kind of greenwashing have happened, big cases abroad and in India also, and you'll get to know what kind of things you can also call it for. Probably tomorrow you go to shop something and you find something which doesn't tally up, maybe after this session, or you read something more and you get to know that, yeah, I read about this and this is greenwashing and I should do something about it, and then probably you take up that matter. So maybe this will help. So going forward, we'll be checking this legal framework which is there in India, and after this also globally what is available. So as I said, you don't have a comprehensive single act or code or anything to tackle greenwashing, right? Sustainability reporting in India is actually quite old. In fact, social audit, if you look back, I think in 1980s only Tata did the first social audit of its processes. It did a social impact assessment as well. And before BRSR also, we had business responsibility reporting from SEBI, same criteria, top 1,000 listed entities. Then NGRBC principles came, the 9 principles aligned with Sustainable Development Goals of 2015. They paved the way for BRSR. Now BRSR is there. Now BRSR core is also there, where top 150 to 50 companies have to get an assurance or assessment done of some parameters in NGRBC principles. So a lot of activities are there, but this all is towards the reporting parameter. You also have European Union coming up with CSRD. Earlier you used to have NFRD, National Financial Reporting Directive. Now that has been transformed into CSRD, Corporate Social Reporting Directive. And CSRD, I can say that it's very comprehensive, very vast, and they've given a lot of guidelines to follow it. And you have European Sustainability Reporting Standards also there, which again are very, very comprehensive. And now you will have ICSA 5000 for auditing, for assurance of sustainability, and that is going to be effective from December 2026. So a lot of developments are happening, and a lot of rules are there, guidelines are there, but you don't have something on greenwashing. All this is for reporting. You have GRI standards, you have SASB standards, so many different standards are there for reporting. TCFD is there. You have Carbon Disclosure Project for identifying rankings of various companies. but not much on greenwashing. So, and typically when it comes to India, because again, we are taking baby steps and we have a lot to evolve. We have to get companies accustomed to the reporting. We have to drive transparent reporting, get disclosures driven honestly. They should not feel that this is a checklist based exercise. They should want to really report the right numbers and right parameters. So many things are there which we are working on. Slowly, steadily, we are getting there. And now companies are actually interested. They are not seeing this as a cost burden now. Probably 2 years back, they were a bit uncertain about whether we have to put resources into it. But now, because globally the sustainable finance is catching trend and a lot of impact funds are active, they also have an investment philosophy. Now the Indian companies are also trying to do best in reporting so that they will get uh, they may tap into funds at a cheaper interest, or maybe some fiscal or taxation incentive may come from the government also. So those things are positively pushing this sustainability reporting. Now the more reporting will be there, the more numbers will be out, the more disclosures will be there, and then we will be able to do a proper assessment on the quality of disclosures. That how, like we have audit quality review board, we keep we also get a report from NAFRA which talks about about the quality of reports. You will have similar things happening here also. In fact, there have been surveys where globally they have assessed a lot of reports and checked that how is investor confidence on these reports, what do they feel concerned about. We'll have couple of insights from those surveys also. So what do we have in India right now? One, we have Consumer Protection Act. This is probably the mother law for the consumers in India. And under this protection CPA Act, you have CCPA, Consumer Central Consumer Protection Authority. CCPA issued guidelines in 2024, which is called Guidelines for Prevention and Regulation of Greenwashing or Misleading Environmental Claims. Okay, now this is a major step which has happened in the recent past in India. And there are penalties given, there are also imprisonment given, but again it mostly leads to making misleading claims, right? And again it becomes very narrow. It's maybe it will not deal in a manner it is supposed to deal because it's only a guideline again. Then you have Bureau of Indian Standards. They have developed eco mark certification. It helps consumers identify eco-friendly products. The certification is not mandatory. Not all products have to carry it. Hence, it may not be so effective, but this is a good step which probably can be leveraged in the future. Then you have plastic waste management rules. In fact, if people here follow law, they will be knowing that there have been a lot of litigations around this. There is some litigation against the cement manufacturer also around this, how to dispose of the plastic bags and all these things. So these rules aim to reduce plastic waste. Again, they don't comprehensively deal with greenwashing in product labeling. It's only relating to disposal of plastic waste. And you may see that there have been a lot of talks on single-use plastic and biodegradable stuff. Ultimately, everything ends up in a landfill, and it's still leading to pollution. And you may not be able to verify if it's actually biodegradable or not. Then you have Reserve Bank of India and SEBI also, which has brought a lot of measures when it comes to sustainability. In February 2023, SEBI has issued guidelines for publishers of green debt securities. So green debt securities will be like bonds and all these things which are issued for a sustainable purpose, for investment into sustainable projects. So SEBI has issued guidelines for issue of green debt securities. That is to ensure transparency, prevent greenwashing, and safeguard investor interest. A lot of people who will buy units of these securities will be doing that because they see a ESG criteria or a social philanthropical goal in it, right? So their trust should not be shaken. And there is no specific penalties mentioned in this, and this focus on increasing transparency and reducing misleading environmental claims in financial sector. So a lot of activities happening in the financial sector as well, apart from your FMCG and fashion, for which BAS and CPA is there. RBI has also proposed measures to address greenwashing concerns in green deposits. So they are also onto it, and a lot of third-party verification and impact assessment are being encouraged by SEBI and RBI. Then you have Environment Protection Act. Again, people who follow law will be knowing about Mr. MC Mehta and all that Supreme Court judgments which have come under this, and also a lot of pollution-related issues which are dealt under Environmental Protection Act. This also helps in tackling or fighting against greenwashing. And then you have Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So we have a ministry called Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and they have a program called Green Goods Movement. This encourages specific actions and avoid false claims. It's a voluntary program. Anybody wishes can follow it. Then you have Advertising Standard Council of India, which is ASCI. They have self-regulation for organizations in relation to the advertisements they make. Now, if any of you have done it, I'm not sure, but there is a procedure. If you see an advertisement in print or in media, anywhere from any company selling products or services, do you feel that the claim they are making is not proper, not substantiated, not appropriate, you have an option to file it as a complaint before ASCI. Although ASCI does not have penalizing powers, they can still issue directions to the advertiser to withdraw the advertisement and also issue an unconditional apology. That's the extreme step. Not many will give you an unconditional apology, but they will withdraw the advertisement. They'll probably reissue with proper claims. I have done this personally for one of the advertisements, and it took 3 months, but ultimately that company issued a revised advertisement, and it was related to our CA members only. So it is helpful. So if you see probably somebody selling a fridge claiming it to be sustainable, and they are advertising it in a very wrong manner and wrong claims, you can try that. They are pretty fast to respond. They have a proper portal and they have a procedure in place, how you have to go about it. But again, this is self-regulating. They don't have enough power or mandate to go beyond that. Then you have Indian Green Building Council. So again, most of you would have heard that we have this IGBC certifications for making green buildings. So if you follow the protocols or steps there, and you can get the building you're constructing as IGBC certificate, then obviously you can pitch it for a different segment, and investors or buyers will be happy to pay a premium for it. So this IGBC has also developed a rating system for buildings, and you will see a lot of developers these days are moving towards green buildings and IGBC certifications. Then what else do we have as a legal framework in India? We have environmental impact assessments. Again, any project, mining, manufacturing in a particular area, stress zone, you will have to do a environmental impact assessment, and that helps in identifying what will be the impact of this project in the surrounding ecosystem and whether this should be taken forward or not. How many trees will be cut? How many people will be displaced? Are there any tribals living in that area who will be have to be relocated? Any endangered animals in that area? Will making a project at that place exhaust the water resources which is available there? What is the impact it will have on the entire ecosystem around it? So these kind of things are come under environmental impacts assessment. In fact, if you are fond of seeing these things, there are loads of documentaries in YouTube. You can just check for greenwashing. You can check for impact of renewable resources. On the face of it, when we hear solar energy and renewable resources, we feel very happy, right? But what is the impact of building a solar uh, plant or a solar premise in some village? You will have to go to YouTube or read articles about it, and you'll understand when you are taking lands from farmers and taking a huge parcel, because you have to put photovoltaic cells and there are large panels. You are going to take huge space for generating solar energy, and you have to obviously identify a place where you get sunlight in most days of the year, right? Only then it's beneficial. So when such large land parcels are acquired from farmers, are good practices being followed when doing that acquisition? Are farmers compensated properly or not? There's hardly, you can say there's hardly any check on that. That's why we see so much protest later on, after the project has started, or somebody has started generating power. These farmers then start coming and protesting it. Also, putting such a project at such a place, what other impacts are there? There may be lands which have been actually used for agriculture. There will be set of people living there whose livelihood would be somebody grows something, they sell that to somebody, they make money, other will be living off it. So entire ecosystem may be dependent on agriculture. And when you take that away, probably out of 100 land owners, 90 sold their land because the other guy buying it may be a very big business tycoon. They may have got a good price also. They might have sold the land. And the 10 who are left who did not want to sell it, because a lot of people in India still value land as mother and they want to do agriculture. They don't want to sell it. What happens to them? Because the other 90 having sold the land may have even migrated outside somewhere for a job or something and left agriculture altogether. What about the 10 people who are still left out there? Now they don't have anybody to sell to. What about the water needs? Very recently, I've read about in US there is a town where a very big data center was built by Facebook or yeah, and because of that data center, so much water is being consumed by the data center there that the people living in the nearby areas are not getting water in their taps. It's coming drop by drop. We are talking about US here. It's coming drop by drop, and people are literally filling that drop in small buckets and keeping it for their use. So what impact these projects have? Again, coming to the solar topic, we feel it's a very good thing, it's a renewable resource, all that, okay, fine. Who actually went and really studied whether a proper EIA was done for this project? What happened to the people who lived there or whose land was bought? Were they employed by the company? Is their livelihood taken care? What happened to the water needs of the ecosystem there? What about the energy needs of the ecosystem there? You built a power plant. Did you give free energy to the people from who you have taken land or not? Have you ensured energy security for the people there? Right. So all these things are lagging. And because we don't have tight regulations, tight monitoring, probably a lack of very strict regulatory authority to look into it, these things may be there, and it's also kind of greenwashing only, right? So don't go by the claims. Claims will be very nice, but is that substantiated or not? So I'll suggest that people listening to this do some surfing on YouTube and articles on how greenwashing happens in renewable sector, how is it happening in organic food industry. You'll find loads of things which is happening. Probably one of them will be useful to you in your daily life. Then growing awareness and media scrutiny. These days social media is like the biggest, probably we can call it the fifth pillar. We always spoke about four pillars of democracy, media being the fourth, but I think social media has taken a different and distinct place. It has become a fifth pillar. And the consumers, everybody's so aware. A lot of rumors are also there. A lot of reels, unintended and irrelevant, are also circulating. But again, there is a lot of consumer awareness and influencers. All these people are taking companies to task. Big companies also. If an influencer has a bad experience, say on an Indigo or something, he'll go and post something, and that creates immediate repercussion on the brand, right? A brand which would have been built for so many years is getting disturbed by an influencer who may have just become an influencer. Then you have civil society organizations, which are like NGOs, and NGOs who mainly work on environmental issues and social areas. They may protest, they may harm the reputation of the company, and they'll be very vocal in their protest. Probably people here would have known about in India, we have like nuclear plants, like Kudankulam plant is there in Tamil Nadu. When they wanted to build that plant, there was a lot of protest for that. Even now, a lot of areas you will face these NGO protests, uh, which have to be, considered in a positive manner that something is wrong or people have a problem. That's why they are protesting, and you have to do a comprehensive evaluation. You can't just disregard people's voices and say that I've decided this and I'm going to do this. So these are the scrutinies and legal framework which are there in India. Like I said, nothing comprehensive like one umbrella framework, multiple frameworks which we should know how to use. Tomorrow, as a chartered accountant, you've been approached by somebody, you should know which regulation or which act or what I can guide this particular person. If you are advising a company, again, these frameworks should be, you should be aware of these frameworks to help the company strategize to avoid any regulatory penalties, regulatory action, stakeholder activism, right? And to have a business risk mitigation strategy to handle these things. Now, like I said, under Consumer Protection Act, you have CCPA, the authority. CCPA had issued a guidelines in 2024 called Guidelines for Prevention and Regulation of Greenwashing or Misleading Environmental Claims. Now, uh, this guideline defines the term greenwashing as a deceptive or misleading practice which includes concealing, omitting, or hiding relevant information by exaggerating, making vague or false statement, using misleading symbols, words, imagery, or any other unsubstantiated environmental claims. So, few big words, but most of them will be towards making claims. Somewhere you can see that it's towards advertising, tilting towards advertising or marketing, but a deceptive or misleading practice, that means it's a deception, it's not real. Includes, it's inclusive, this is not an exhaustive definition. Includes concealing, you're hiding something. Omitting, you're not disclosing something, or hiding relevant information by exaggerating. So what is relevant, that you are not showing, what is not relevant, that you are exaggerating. Making vague or false statement, vague will be uncertain statement. You have to make specific statements, specific claims which can be substantiated. Making vague or false statement using misleading words like all natural, organic, symbols, putting a symbol or logo of the world, or something which will nudge a consumer towards thinking it's animal friendly, things like that, imagery, or any unsubstantiated environmental claims. So very broad and comprehensive, to the effect that anything can come under this. It will tilt towards a marketing or advertising claim, but everything will come under this definition. The greenwashing guidelines prohibit companies, advertisers, service providers from using any generic words like green, clean, sustainable, natural, recyclable, etc., without having adequate evidence for substantiating. So, as a company, you can't use these kind of words without having adequate evidence to substantiate your claims. If you are saying your product is green, how is it green? On what basis are you claiming it to be green? If you're calling it recyclable, what is the life cycle assessment you have done? How is it recyclable? How is it coming from cradle to grave and then grave to cradle? How is it doing that? Do you have your circular economy documented somewhere? So you have to have substantiation for it. They also mandate that environmental claims be supported by accessible evidence based on independent studies or third party certification with adequate disclosure. So you should have, you should allow accessible evidence for people to check it based on independent studies or third party verification. So the push on third party verification is very, very clear and evident, and that helps in creating a independent, credible source of verification. The guidelines promote transparency and adequacy of disclosure by companies to prevent any inaccurate or false claims in a bid to lure customer into buying product. Why companies do greenwashing? Very simple. They want to create an image of being sustainable. They want people to buy their products and services. Maybe probably tap onto some funds which only sustainable companies can tap on, right? These guidelines aim at promoting transparency and adequacy to prevent these kind of mischiefs. In case of contravention of the guidelines, CCPA, Central Consumer Protection Authority, has authority to levy penalties for 10 lakh rupees to 50 lakh depending on repetition of offense. First offense 10 lakh, then it starts increasing, including imprisonment of 2 to 5 years. So now you have got some teeth. The authority has got some teeth that if you are contravening the guidelines, there can be imprisonment as well. So that is the framework you have in India. Now, also to go about the global framework, what is there globally and how other jurisdictions have been treating it. Now, again, like I said, most of the jurisdictions which you'll read will typically towards claims. Our topic is also greenwashing and sustainable claims. And here also the jurisdiction will typically lean towards advertising, mislabeling, or misrepresentation of a certain feature of a product, things like that. In United States, so all of us know after Trump came, there has been a lot of anti-ESG happening because he is not pro-ESG, and diversity, equity, inclusion, all these has now not finding so much prevalence right now, but in the long run these things will be important and it has to be there. Nobody can deny that. In the United States, you have Federal Trade Commission, FTC. This has issued guidelines on environmental marketing claims. Again, guidelines are on claims. This is known as green guides. This provides guidance on how companies make truthful and non-deceptive environmental claims in their advertising. See, the word deceptive keeps repeating, whether you see India or somewhere else. Vague, uncertain, deceptive, these are like the keywords. And again, this is for advertising. The green guides also prohibit false or misleading claims, such as using unqualified terms like eco-friendly or green. Again, something we saw already. The guidelines require that environmental claims be specific and not misleading. So these are the keywords. Claim should be specific and not misleading. They should be supported by competent and reliable evidence. The green guides are not legally binding, but FTC can take legal action if you are found in contravention. So it's not legally binding, but if they find out contravention, they may take action. Now, what is there in European Union? European Union has implemented green claims regulation. This sets out the rule for company making environmental claim in advertising. Again, this is regulating advertising. This regulation requires that environmental claims be specific, accurate, verifiable. Same thing which we saw in US also. In Europe, the European Commission (EC) has issued guidelines on environmental claims 2020. It aims to harmonize rules for claims across European Union. You know, the member states follow similar kind of rules. They may have carve out, they may have transposition into a different framework, but normally they follow similar kind of rules. The guidelines include criteria for substantiating claims, such as using science-based metrics. Now, this is different, which is not there in US. So here the guidelines are encouraging science-based metrics so that it's certain and specific, avoiding misleading or vague language. The guidelines are not legally binding again, but companies that violate may face legal action. Now, Canada. In Canada, the Competition Bureau in Canada in 2019 has issued guidelines called Environmental Claims, a guide for industry and advertisers. Again, advertising has come. This provides guidance for companies making environmental claim in their advertising and how to avoid making false or misleading representation of marketing or products. So any jurisdiction you take, it will all be very similar. That don't make misleading claims. The guidelines require that environmental claims are specific, accurate, not misleading, clear language should be there, and providing evidence to support environmental claims. Same thing which we saw in US also. Coming to United Kingdom. Now they have an advertising standards authority, like we have ASCI, they have ASA. This has issued guidelines for advertising. Company have to follow these guidelines. The guidelines require that environmental claims be specific, accurate, not misleading. Same. In addition to these efforts, there are also independent organizations that certify products as environmental friendly, such as Forest Stewardship Council (FSC), Rainforest Alliance, and Energy Star Program. This is something new. They are even encouraging third-party certification. Consumers can look for these certifications to identify products that are genuinely environmentally responsible. So if there is a stamp of Rainforest Alliance, customers can have trust that this is genuinely sustainable. So these jurisdictions are just a few examples. If you take China, they have a green advertising law. If you take Brazil, they have a consumer protection code. So many different jurisdictions will have different kinds of laws or frameworks to deal with environmental claims and sustainability greenwashing issues. Now, although you have so many different frameworks available globally, implementation will actually depend on country by country and region by region. You can't have a code or a law and expect it to work 100% perfection, right? So every country, every region in that country will have different sets of facts and circumstances, and how strict the government is there implementing it actually depends, actually decides how effective the regulation is going to be. In United States, FTC has also got enforcement action against companies that have made false claims. When such actions are taken, then companies are aware that they can be caught and they can be strictly prosecuted. A lot of penalties can be levied on them, and hence they are more, you can say, conservative, and they don't tend to indulge in greenwashing or any contraventions. Now, greenwashing in India, if you look at what are the key factors which result in greenwashing in India. So now we are talking India specific. We'll know broadly why people do, while companies do greenwashing. Like I said, it will be to place themselves in a certain image before the customers, before the market, before the government, improve their image, for tapping onto ESG funds, right? Or just to make more customers, make more money, sell more products. These can be general reasons. Some specific reasons, India specific, are also there. First is rising demand for sustainable products. Now you can see that the Indian customers, the consumers, especially the Gen Z and whatever generation Alpha, everything is whatever is coming. Everybody's moving toward healthy products, organic products, animal friendly products, where animals would not have been harmed. And so many different terminologies have been coming. So these are increasingly, these generations are becoming increasingly aware of uh, the societal issues, the environmental challenges, the climate change, because they are facing it, right? We have seen some part of it. Now we are handing it over to them, and they have to struggle through it. So they are more concerned about it, they are more aware about it. And obviously, because of technology and the information which they have at their fingertips, they are more sensitized towards it. So this shift, this conscience, or this thinking of responsibility or change in lifestyle, that has brought a new market. That market for organic products, for healthy products, companies are trying to target that market to make more money. Now, some may be genuinely doing it by having proper healthy products with original nutrients. Some may not be doing that, and they may be claiming to do that, which is greenwashing. So, this is one uh, key issue or key area because of which there can be greenwashing, that there is a market for it. People want products which are organic, and company without making organic product may want to participate in that market. Some example are vague claims like calling their product eco-friendly or natural or green without any certification, right? That is one of the trends which we see. Second is misleading product packaging that looks environmentally conscious, but it is not made from sustainable material. So there was one interesting article I read some time back, where I think it was Zara or H&M, I'm not sure, but there was a survey done about their merchandise and all the clothes which they have. And if you know that a lot of clothes carry sustainable tag these days, and when an investigation or survey was done, it was found that they were not sustainable, they were not following proper procurement policies, they were labor exploitations, all these issues were there. And when it was asked to them, why are you making false claims, they said, no, we are not making false claims, right? And when they were asked how, they said, the tag says I am sustainable. We never said the cloth or the shirt or whatever, we never said that is sustainable. The tag is sustainable, so the tag has been made from some sustainable recycled plastic or whatever, some paper or fiber or something. So they very on technical flimsy ground, they said the tag is sustainable, the cloth is not, and we never lied. We left it to the consumer to decide. Now that is actually creating a deception. When I, as a customer consumer, go to a clothing shop and I pick up a t-shirt says, which has a tag in it and says sustainable, I'm not going to think this tag is sustainable, I'm not buying the tag, I'm going to buy the t-shirt, right? And now that is deception. They have nudged me towards buying that, calling it sustainable. That is greenwashing. And so misleading product packaging, like I said, and brands claiming sustainability and continuing practices which harm the environment, like excessive water use, high emission in manufacturing process. There are so many systems which have come in place which can actually optimize, fine tune your emissions, bring it down. There are so many carbon sequestration processes, carbon capture plants which are being built up. Different ways to reduce your carbon emissions are there. You have carbon mitigation strategies, decarbonization strategies, but without doing all that, they will keep doing some small efforts to show us if they are sustainable, while the entire core process, which is creating pollution or emissions, that is not being rectified. Then you have a lack of robust regulations. So we are discussing why there is greenwashing in India. So like I discussed, we have guidelines, we have some acts, some here and there bits and pieces framework are there, but we don't have a strong regulatory framework which is strict, which ensures monitoring, has an authority which can take action, which drives up accountability, right? So we don't have that. Because of that, companies may indulge in greenwashing. So although we have studied about the BAS eco mark labels, it's not mandatory, it's not universal. People don't know about it. So because of that lack of knowledge, awareness, and even regulations to drive the use of such labeling, it is not bringing much use. India has a lot of such certifications. We have FSSA certification also, And but problem is many small medium businesses may not have the wherewithal financial capacity to get those certifications. Getting those certification may increase their cost of supplying, and then they may not be in the market for selling their products. Then you have cultural factors. A lot of us will agree with this. Indian system of values, highly, we have so much of wisdom and knowledge from our Vedas and Upanishads and Puranas, and so many literature we have rich cultural, materials with us. And the knowledge system like Ayurveda, organic farming, all these things were there from long back, even before people started talking about sustainability. And these cultural knowledge systems are assumed, and are we know that these have been designed in a way which is friendlier to the environment, right, which are closer to Mother Earth, and that's why we trust them. A lot of us take Ayurvedic medicines. We do have people known in our circle who do organic farming, and we prefer to buy from them, right? And there are low carbon footprint products, like there are houses which are made of a certain kind of mud, which keeps the house cool in summers, and vice versa. These are typical building methodologies followed in Rajasthan and other places as well. So we have traditional knowledge systems, and we have trust in those knowledge systems. Now some business, for their profit motive, may try to link their products to such knowledge system, claim it to be Ayurvedic, organic, or whatever, try to sell that to you. Like we have Dabur, we have Patanjali, right? I'm not going against them in some thing. We have some case studies which is from public domain. We'll see that. But when you say Dabur Chyawanprash, you have that trust. You feel okay, some herbal or Ayurvedic material is there, and you're eating that, it's good for your health, and it has been selling for such a long time. So, but some businesses use this cultural belief which we have in our knowledge system to sell their products in a wrong way. So again, this is one kind of issue which leads to green washing. Then CSR. Now we are all chartered accountants. We know CSR spending 2% has to be done. It's a explain, disclose or explain kind of methodology. And a lot of Schedule 7 activities is there in the Companies Act, what you can do as a CSR activity. So sometimes it feels like a forced compliance for a lot of companies, right? So just for the sake of doing it, they will show us if they are using the money for planting trees, but they would have diverted the money somewhere else. Again, these are typical reasons or triggers which generate greenwashing. Now coming to green blushing in India. So like I said, green blushing is opposite of greenwashing, where people or companies don't want to, they downplay their environmental achievements. So why do companies do green blushing in India? First, lack of confidence in sustainability performance. They are not sure whether the measurements they did or the report which they have generated is proper or not, whether it's properly measured or not. They are hesitant that tomorrow if I publish this, my competitor may find something in it and try to destroy my reputation, destroy my customer base, or I may not be able to stand up to any scrutiny because I may not have that kind of internal controls in place. So they are afraid of potential for greenwashing acquisition, as simple as that. Limited resources, they might not have money to do it. They may have achieved a lot of good things, don't have the money to demonstrate it. Then limited customer demand. Now maybe these companies who are doing well on environmental front and not wanting to disclose, they may feel that the customers are not interested in it, so why should I do anything to promote what I'm doing? Last is they may not be prioritizing it. They may be thinking it's a good nice to have parameter, but I'm not really interested in doing that, so they don't want to report whatever good they are doing. Now, greenwashing in India, major industries, if you see, what are the major industries where you may see evidence of greenwashing are? First is plastic waste and single-use plastic. So a lot of companies will claim that they're going towards zero plastic, their packaging biodegradable, it's single-use plastic, all those things will be there. Ultimately, again, as I said earlier, all this goes into landfills, which are not being properly dealt with. The landfills are getting filled up, it's leading to more problems, and it's not being incinerated, it has to be burnt, and That's how it has to be done. And when you incinerate it, it again leads to pollution. Some business label their product as eco-friendly, although they give it as a temporary solution. They don't deal with issue of overuse of plastic in their value chain, right? They don't build on circular economy. Temporary solution they show to make it feel good. In fact, there is one more interesting aspect, if you would have heard about it. We have roads being made from plastic. Yeah, you might have heard this in news that some area in India we have built roads using plastics, and it's very good sustainability. So good thing. But I also read a survey or a report where I think it was not in India but outside, but where it said that when a car is going to run on that plastic road, a road which is made out of plastic, it is going to emit more carbon into the environment. And a plastic, if you can find better way to dispose it off, may have been better using some R&D. But because you built it as a road, because of the friction when the tire moves over the car, there is going to be constant emission uh, into the environment of CO2, and then it becomes difficult to trap that. And it's a faster emission. You put plastic in a landfill or somewhere, it takes time. It's not emitting, it will take its time, and then it will lead to CO2 emission. But since you made it as a road, and there is cars traveling on that road, and there is friction between tires on the road, there is going to be instant emission resulting from that. So you have to see it from both aspects. Electric vehicles, there was so much of enthusiasm for electric vehicles. It's good that we have alternative fuel arrangement as well. But how are those electric vehicles being charged? They are charged from a grid. From you go to some Tata Power or somewhere and you plug it in and it's charged. Where is that station drawing its power from? From a grid. Where is that grid drawing its power from? Maybe a thermal power plant, right? Then how is it sustainable? You have to see the entire length and breadth of it to understand whether you are doing something sustainable or not. Blue car, many of us would have traveled in Delhi. I'm not sure if it's in Bombay or someplace else. A very sad debacle it had. It was running very good. Now in blue car, whenever you traveled, you used to get a message that you have saved so much of CO2 emission. So the company, there is an article on this. The company would have been using all these carbon credits for its purpose, but they have not passed it on to the customers. So I will not call it greenwashing, but obviously there is something that they should have been doing. When I am the one saving carbon emission, you should pass it on to the customers as well. You are telling that I'm saving, the customer is saving, and you are using it instead, right? Then fast fashion industry. So it's very frequently linked to greenwashing. Brands claim to produce sustainable fashion by using eco-friendly material or reducing water usage, but in reality, you'll have exploitation of labor, overproduction, waste generation. All these things will be there. Fast fashion brands often highlight very minor changes. Like I said, they will say the tag is sustainable. Some garments are made from organic cotton, while majority of production is through processes which have huge environmental harm. So these are things which keep on repeating in fast fashion industry. Food and agriculture, you would have heard about this terminology called farm to fork model or farm to table model, that straight from the farm you're getting fresh vegetables, fruits coming to your plates, and you're eating that. Now how do you verify that? There is no certification, there is no evidence. People are selling it, people are buying it, right? So these are also very prevalent practices. Then claims like chemical free or 100% natural, these are done for marketing, and they may not even be grown organically. There may be chemicals which have been used for the thing, may not be sustainable because you're not having optimum use of environmental resources. So again, these things are very prevalent. Now, coming on to some surveys, there is a report from 2024 Institutional Investor Survey report. Now, this reveals that 85% of institutional investors, they view greenwashing as a worsening problem, while 55% of finance leaders worry about their industry's sustainability reporting being perceived as misleading. Right? What are the key findings? First, like I said, 85% of investors believe that greenwashing is a worse problem than it was 5 years ago. So now more people are reporting. So they may be reporting wrong, and because of that wrong, there is a mistrust being built that companies are doing greenwashing. 55% of finance leaders like CFOs who were surveyed for the report, they expressed concern that their industry's reporting risk is being perceived as greenwashing. So the CFOs feel, although we are reporting, but it's being there is a risk being perceived with the risk of greenwashing. There are credibility issues. The report highlights a lack of trust in information companies provide regarding sustainability performance. Readers of sustainability statements, investors are not able to believe and rely on non-financial data. Impact on decision making. Despite a large increase in the use of ESG data by investors, many are likely to decrease their consideration of these due to lack of trust in quality of data. Although so much reporting is happening, still investors are not able to use that reporting to evaluate whether they want to invest or not because they don't have trust in the data. What are the reasons because of which this mistrust is coming? First, low quality disclosures. Investors, finance leaders point to a gap between that what company claims and what they actually do, citing low quality disclosure. You may be claiming 100 things, stars and skies, you may not be doing anything actually. Data gaps. Finance leaders report significant challenges with data formats and inconsistencies, with 96% worrying that their organization's non-financial data lacks robustness needed for effective decision making. Like I said, it has become a checklist exercise for many, and that has to improve. Then do a checklist exercise, you don't have that robustness in data, and hence you are not able to decide anything based on that data. Evolving regulatory landscape. Increasing investor caution comes as many jurisdictions are moving toward mandatory sustainability disclosures. So this is again one of the reasons. Now, what this means for business, this is all from one report. Need for transparency. Companies obviously have to improve accuracy, comparability, materiality of sustainability reporting to build investor confidence, because the entire report talks about mistrust. Then strengthening internal controls. With the increasing focus on the credibility of ESG claims, business must ensure internal control framework are robust and capable. Lot of engagements which you do for sustainability, whether it's DMA assessment or benchmarks, landscape assessment, decarbonization, you will find that first problem you may face is there is lack of data in a proper manner, collated properly for addressing different aspects which may be required for reporting. And you may have multiple plans. Every plan will be following a different uh, data MIS, somebody monthly, somebody in 15 days, 3 months, different parameters, although for the same purpose. There is no centralization, there is no automated MIS system, and all these leads to problems. So you have to strengthen internal controls. Regulatory preparedness. Companies must be aware and prepare for increased regulatory scrutiny and potential penalties for non-compliances. So if they are not able to comply, they will have to face penalties. There is one more report in November 2024 called Challenge of Greenwashing, an international regulatory overview. Now, here the key findings are the definition of greenwashing has been given as referring to misleading marketing tactics that exaggerate or misrepresent a company's environmental practice, consequences that it leads to reputational harm, legal issues, regulatory scrutiny, and decreased consumer trust. Common practice tactics include vague claims like sustainable, green, clean, misleading imagery, unverified certifications, and overstating minor eco-friendly actions. Then the report also talks about regulatory challenges, that there are fragmented regulations, there are emerging frameworks which are there, like EU Green Claim Directive is there. And there are sector specific focus, like financial sector has a lot of scrutiny because ESG investing is picking up. The report also talks about risk and legal implications. What are the risks? There can be reputational damage, obviously. There can be litigation trends, lawsuits, stakeholders, class action suits, all these things can come. There can be regulatory actions from regulators, which can have fines and corrective measures. This report also talks about some case studies. Like in Europe, they say that airlines falsely marketed flights as carbon neutral, leading to regulatory action to curb unverified claims. In UK, fashion retailers faced enforcement for misleading sustainability claims, setting industry benchmarks. Germany, legal actions targeted overstating green claims in electric vehicles and renewable energy projects. Netherlands, financial products marketed as sustainable faced scrutiny, prompting improved ESG disclosure. So you can see these are not India. They are jurisdictions with much tighter regulation and following for some time now. Still, there is so much of greenwashing happening there, despite all those strict regulation as well. So financial products marked as sustainable It faced scrutiny in Netherlands, prompting improved ESG disclosure. Here we have RBI has issued guidelines on what should be there for green deposits. SEBI has issued guidelines to prevent greenwashing. Similarly, you have for other jurisdiction also. But despite all that, you still have companies doing these mischiefs or these acts and then getting caught in that, and then penalties and fines being levied on them. The report talks about what compliance mechanism should be there for any organization. They say that regulatory scanning should be there. There will be multiple updates on ESG, sustainability reporting, sustainability policy of the government. You should have a regulatory scanning. Green claims mapping. Whatever claims the companies are making about products or services, they should be mapped properly, and you should have a repository for that. Risk screening. You have to conduct analysis to identify any risk from your claims. Governance updates. Adapt framework to mitigate greenwashing risk. Then training program. You have to create awareness within your organization. So you have to educate employees and board members on ESG compliance. Then what are the recommendations given in the report? Strengthen internal processes, obviously on your environmental claims and internal controls around that. Implement governance structure. You should have somebody who is responsible for those claims, who's accountable, right? Enhance transparency. You have to give sustainability communication with verifiable data. Avoid unsubstantiated claims. Don't claim things which are not there, which you cannot prove. Monitor global regulation. Things keep evolving globally, and tomorrow it might apply in India also. So you have to keep a check on what's happening globally and what are the best practices and start following it. Align your disclosure with international standard. Again, that's like a best practice. Engage in training, create more awareness amongst the stakeholders, mitigate legal risk. Verify compliance in contracts with vendors. You'll have a value chain, upstream, downstream. You'll have a lot of contracts with them. You'll have to check compliance in contract with vendors. Any social parameter is there. You have to pay PF, ESI, take care of your insurance. There are so many other things. Supply chain procurement. Tata has a supply code of conduct. So if some vendor is not meeting that, they will ban and they will not do business with that supplier. So you have to do all these things to mitigate any legal risk. Proactive legal strategy to develop plans to address potential legal risk. Suppose you're doing a project, you have the clearances, everything is fine, but maybe a small minority stakeholder may not be happy with it, and you know that there can be some litigation from this person. So you'll have to strategize that also into your overall scheme of things. Now, some case studies again from the public domain, which we all would have heard about, and these are typically called as greenwashing. So you'll get a better idea of what greenwashing is. Volkswagen clean diesel scandal. Most of us would have heard about this. Uh, German engines are known for their strength and power and the trust which customers have in them. Volkswagen also was very well trusted by consumers across the globe. And in 2015, US EPA it caught Volkswagen by cheating the emission test. So you have emission test to identify what kind of emission a car is doing. Volkswagen used a chip or a software in the car to bypass the test and make it show as if within that emission threshold. So they were found cheating, and they had a lot of litigation, a lot of lawsuits, and they paid billions of dollars in fines and compensation to affected customer. It was found that they were emitting up to 40 times the legal limit of pollutants. So you can understand the significant, we can say, hiding of something which they have been doing. So obviously that resulted in a lot of reputational loss and a lot of money as fines. Then Tesco, this is a UK supermarket chain, and they were selling this everyday value light bulbs. They were calling that these are carbon neutral and they'll run for like 8 years. But in reality, they lasted only a few months. They were not carbon neutral. And whatever calculation they had based on which they called it carbon neutral, that were flawed calculations, probably intentional, unintentional, but flawed calculation. So this was found out by UK Advertising Standards Authority, and Tesco was fined 3 lakh euros by the ASA. Then KFC Rainforest Alliance certified coffee. In 2010, KFC, we all have been to KFC, fast food chain restaurant. It was found to have misled customers about environmental credentials of its coffee. Company claimed that coffee was certified by Rainforest Alliance. It's a non-profit organization that promotes agriculture, sustainable agriculture. So if you have that certification, customers buying a particular product will feel that, yeah, this is actually organic product. So KFC said their coffee has a Rainforest Alliance. However, the coffee was only 10% certified. KFC did not have permission to use that logo in the advertising. They used it, so they were fined 7,500 euro by ASA. H&M, a group of environmental organizations, filed a lawsuit alleging that company engaged in greenwashing by misleading customers about its environmental impact. The lawsuit claimed H&M's marketing material were misleading and the company had not made significant progress towards its sustainability goals. Like I said, the tag is sustainable, not the cloth. Now, some case studies in India, some recent, some old also. And if you do research on it, if you find it over Google, you'll find a lot of such instances. Even in your everyday life, in everyday advertisement which you see on TV, you'll find a lot of greenwashing happening. So Godrej Industries in 2012, they were fined 5 lakh by ASCI, Advertising Standard Council, for making false and misleading claims about Goodnight mosquito repellent, which they claimed as natural and chemical free. Everybody knows it's not chemical free. So they were fined. HUL greenwash case 2011, Indian government's Ministry of Environment and Forest filed a case against Hindustan Unilever for making false claims in advertising about environmental benefits of Surf Excel Easy Wash detergent. The company had claimed that the detergent was 100% natural and environment friendly, but in reality, it contained synthetic ingredients. HUL was fined 10 lakh by Central Pollution Control Board. Voltas AC, again, very reputed company. In 2013, Tata Group company that manufactures air conditioner was accused of making false claims about energy efficiency. Now you buy a TV, washing machine, fridge, AC, everywhere you see these stars labeled, on the product saying that 3 star, 5 star. With 5 star, it's most energy efficient. 3 stars, not so energy efficient. They also write the units, how much units this will consume. So Voltas said they were eco-friendly and the AC had a 5 star energy rating, but in reality they had a lower energy rating. So misleading claim, deception. They are fined 50,000 by our Advertising Standard Council. Godrej soap, 2015, Godrej Consumer Products was accused of making false claims about environmental benefits of its soap. Company had claimed soap was 100% natural and biodegradable and eco-friendly, but in reality, it contained synthetic ingredients. Godrej was fined 15 lakh by ASA. So all these fines you can see are by ASCI. Then Patanjali Ayurveda, Divya Pharmacy. So a lot of regulatory authorities found therapeutic claims more tilted towards Ayurvedic claims made by pharmacy to be in violation of drug and advertising laws, leading to potential fines. You would have heard about the Maggie issue also when Patanjali started then making Maggie, and ultimately all the noodles are found to have some kind of lead or something which causes cancer. Food and beverage industry, companies have been scrutinized for claims of being eco-friendly. So if you have noticed, there is something called a vegetable cleaning liquid. In COVID, they were selling loads, and it's like a detergent only, but it's used for washing vegetables. So companies have been scrutinized for making claims like eco-friendly for such liquids or misrepresenting the recyclability of the packaging. In plastic industry, business have been accused of greenwashing by labeling products like eco-friendly, plastic-free without addressing broader issues of plastic overuse. Fast fashion, again, brands claim it is sustainable, but the back end of it is not sustainable. Then there are companies who are accused of greenwashing. They say they have renewable projects, lots of renewable projects, when simultaneously they are also having invested heavily in non-renewable resources, coal mining, gas, and all these things. And also, like I said, if you are even building a renewable project and you're not taking care of the ecosystem around it, then you're not actually, tilting the environmental or sustainable way. Coca-Cola India company has faced criticism for excessive use of plastic packaging and campaigns, but it campaigns promoting recycling. Now, interesting here is COP26, which is the climate conference which happens globally and very famous conference. I think COP26, Coke was the main sponsor of that, and COP26, I think the main theme was plastic somewhere, and it was ironically uh, true that Coke is the second biggest plastic polluter, if I read it right, and it was sponsoring a climate conference which was themed on avoiding plastics. Dabur company, known for herbal natural products, have been accused for greenwashing for using synthetic chemicals. Now all these are accusations, but we don't know if it really resulted in something. Otherwise, fine or something would have been written also. But it gives an idea of what is greenwashing. Now, we've read legal framework, we've seen what cases have been there, definitions. Now, what can organization do to avoid greenwashing? So, as a chartered accountant, if you are approached by somebody to say that, see, I do sustainability reporting, I have a team in place, but I worry that some parameters may not be measured properly, or there may be risk of greenwashing. How do I protect my company, right? Then what all should you know? In absence of a formal program, there should be a formal program for company sustainability claims. In absence of that, an organization can be susceptible to accusations on greenwashing. Now, this is a business risk and it can flow right through your value chain from upstream and downstream partners as well. You have to consider the following. First, every organization should reassess its policies involving sustainability claim across products, services, and communications. All the policies have to be revisited, reassessed to check if it's all proper and will deal appropriately with claims. Organization should maintain up-to-date repository of all backup data certificate report. So whatever is used for substantiating your claim, have a backup. BRSR and BRSR core is there, which requires you to report, have independent assessment also. So it's more important that you have substantiating evidence or the claims are verified through independent agency. Organization could also consider adapting best practices or international standard like ISO 45001, which is like best practices, or ISO 14001 on environmental management system. If you adapt these, you have certified processes as per this, then you will build more trust amongst stakeholders. Then, irrespective of source or industry sector, some key consideration remain the same for everyone. First, are the claims made by company clear, unambiguous, and easily understood? Are the claims genuine, accurate, and supported by robust planning and due diligence? Is the language used to describe the claim consistent with common understanding and any science-based industry standard terms and metrics? So the language should be consistent with common understanding and science-based languages. Are any limitations or important qualifications clearly and prominently disclosed? So you would have seen mutual fund ads where they used to go very fast towards the end. Now they have slowed it down. But this point is on that only. If there is any limitation or qualification about your sustainability claim, it has to be prominently disclosed. Audience should be informed about it. You can't put some small star somewhere which is not even readable. Could the claims or representations reasonably be interpreted in a manner other than as intended? Are you able to nudge the customer in a different way than what you intend? Like the tag example which I gave. Do the claims or representations consider the full value chain associated with the product, supplier, producer, distributor, etc.? Does the disclosure comply with guidance issued by relevant regulator? These are things. These questions should flare up in your mind when you're advising a client. Now, some more aspects which you can dwell deep into. You can read more about this. This will help you in being a strategic advisor for any clients you're handling audits or sustainability for. First is life cycle assessment should be conducted about the products and services to understand environmental impact from production to disposal. We call it cradle to grave. Supply chain reviews has to be performed frequently. To your suppliers may also be making claims that we are sustainable, labor practices are fine. You have to do a frequent check. Carbon footprint analysis has to be done by analyzing GHG emissions from operation, transportation, everything. It's actually companies are not inventorizing GHG in the way it should be. Probably lack of guidance, regulation, or strictness from the regulators. But this is actually very important. You have to do a proper analysis of your carbon footprint, and then only you can make certain claims. Green certification verification. If you are using any third-party certification, it should be verifiable, and you should have proper certificates or ways methodologies to verify it. Document analysis, scrutiny of marketing material, sustainability report to assess accuracy of environmental claims. So whatever reports you have issued earlier in the company, you have to scrutinize and see comparatives were given right or not. Any claims which were made were based on science-based targets or not, things like that. Financial reviews, digital reviews, compliance checks. So these are like basic things which an organization can do to avoid greenwashing. Now, green blushing, although not part of our topic, but like I said, green blushing also will be dangerous for the organization. Now, there is no guideline for green blushing. Maybe the term would have been new for many of us here, right? So we don't have so much of regulations or framework for it, but we have some best practices. If you follow the internationally recognized frameworks or guidelines, those are the best practices by which you can avoid green blushing. Green blushing is downplaying your environmental achievements, right? So when you follow international practices or Indian frameworks also, you are able to transparently disclose. That avoids green blushing. Like you can follow GRI standards, you can follow ISO 1401, you can follow Carbon Trust Standard or FTC's green guides, anything. All of these will help you in transparently reporting. What are the damages due to greenwashing? First, damage to reputation. You may have built reputation over 50, 100 years, and one bad greenwashing incident can topple off your entire reputation. Your entire board may resign. A lot of things can happen. Nasty things can happen. The customers will lose faith on the brand forever. Those kind of things can happen. Second, legal liability. Because of any greenwashing claim, you may invite class action suit from customer, regulator may take action against you, NGOs may file litigation suit against you. You might be dragged into big litigation web, which again will lead to a lot of waste of resources and defamation, probably reputation loss, all these things. Increase regulatory scrutiny. If your company is caught in greenwashing, obviously the scrutiny is going to increase for very obvious reasons. And even if you put effort to mend those things, there will always be some doubt that this company has done it before, they can do it again. We have to be more careful. Increased competition. Now your company may have done greenwashing to place itself in a market in a certain position. That may have triggered your competitors to actually put in efforts, R&D, and create that particular product or service which actually is sustainable. So by doing greenwashing, you have motivated somebody else to do hard work and actually create a product which will compete in reality. Increased cost. Now, you are obviously, for doing greenwashing, you have to incur money on marketing, PR agencies, advertisements. So all this is going to increase your cost. Then the final risk, or one of the risks, is backlash from stakeholders. Customers will not like you, NGOs will not like you, investors, regulators, all these people are going to cut off ties from such a company which does greenwashing, because nobody wants to be associated with such a company. Now, because we read in regulations also, these encourage third-party certifications, right? Now, how can third-party certification help? So, and what kind of third-party certifications are there? Now, when you have an independent agency, accredited agency, which instills trust and faith in customers, and you get a certification from them, obviously the customers are going to believe in the product or service. Now we have eco labels, which are third-party verification that indicate a product or service meets certain environmental standards. They can cover a lot of aspects like energy efficiency, water conservation, sustainable sourcing, etc. You have environmental management system followed under ISA 1401. If you take that certification, it gives more confidence to the investors and customers on your processes. You can have life cycle assessment done from which are third-party assessment, where from cradle to grave everything is evaluated and customers know what is the exact environmental impact at each stage of your product or service. You have other certifications from like Bureau of Indian Standard, BAS, Indian Green Building Council we studied, CSE, Center of Science Environment, they have a CSE green rating which can be used. And there is an institute called Cradle to Cradle Product Innovation Institute. They also have certification which can be taken to instill confidence in the stakeholders. What are the broad challenges which is there, which we face? First is enforcement gap. Okay, first is lack of comprehensive or very strong regulatory framework or legal framework. Probably if that comes, that will be more better. Second is enforcement gap. You have multiple regulations, frameworks, how it has to be enforced. So that thing should be there. Lack of comprehensive certification. Again, we have so many eco labels and all these things, but they are not universally adopted. A lot of companies are not going for them. There is no consistency, and smaller companies, MSMEs, are not able to adopt because of the cost concern. So again, that creates an issue. Consumer education. Large portion of population is not aware of what label should be there, which can make me trust that it's a sustainable thing. How do I verify that label? So because of lack of awareness, greenwashing persists. What is the way forward? What things can help in avoiding greenwashing? First, we have to strengthen the regulatory oversight of environmental claims. Second, promote greater transparency, obviously through sustainability reporting. Third, foster public awareness and education on sustainable consumption. Consumers should be made aware to know their rights and to know how to identify greenwashing. Unless and until you don't help them with that, these things will keep on happening because companies are not going to be get caught. Encourage certification programs and eco labels, and there is a need for clear specific guideline that constitutes green sustainable product. That is missing. We should have that. Need for more stringent guidelines to prevent greenwashing, ensure that companies are made accountable. Unless we bring in accountability, we will not be able to push for enforcement. So this is again very important. Then probably as a concluding thought, we should also have leverage on tech. So technology is booming like anything. We have AI, blockchain, all these things up. So we have to put it to good use also. Now we can use technology to verify green marketing claims. Like machine learning algorithms can be used to train and identify keywords and phrases. So you put something in Google, Google as AI, it's going to summarize a document for you, right? So we have to build systems which will identify the sustainable claims being made by organizations so that if required on a sample basis, these claims can be further investigated. We can use technology to monitor greenwashing through data analytics, machine learning algorithms. They can analyze large amount of data, product description, marketing material, etc., to identify any inconsistency. So, the last year or 6 months back, a product may be claimed as green, and now it's not being claimed as green. That means something has happened, right? So, these kind of leverages that technology can help us. Another approach is to create a database or registry of verified environmentally friendly products, which a consumer can obviously refer and know that, yeah, this is in the database, so it should be verified as sustainable product. Finally, consumers can use technology to research and verify environmental claims by companies. Now, even if we are given a medicine by a doctor who has studied MBBS for 5 years, we have this habit of going to Google and checking what this medicine is for, or what are the side effects, all those things, right? Similarly, if we make consumers aware, they will be able to leverage this search engine or technology to find out more about the particular product. I forgot the name of the YouTuber, he's an influencer. He actually makes videos on packaging of brands. Like a lot of companies claim they make 100% wheat biscuits, zero maida biscuits. So he goes on to the ingredients and shows that, this contains this. And also, palm oil is used in most of the chips. It's not healthy. The chips on the front of it, flashy with the celebrity's photo, will say, healthy, wheat based, whatever, zero saturated fat, but in the behind, in small letters in ingredients, you may find palm oil. So that guy makes videos on all these aspects. Very interesting to see. If you find time, try to search that up as well. So consumers should use technology to leverage their understanding to find out whether something is proper or not. So concluding thoughts basically is, this session was to make our fraternity, our professional members aware about greenwashing, sustainable claims which are made by companies, because these are two sides. You watching this as a consumer are empowered. You as a chartered accountant are also empowered in advising both the sides, right? You can be sometime advising the customer side also. Some organization being a customer to some company, you can be advising certain company making these claims also. Some company wanting to do reporting and wanting to be very cautious that it doesn't indulge in greenwashing also will require your help. Like we spoke about green blushing or green hushing, the same thing. Now, companies who are doing fantastic but are worried that reporting will not stand scrutiny can use the services of chartered accountants to verify those things, and whether that will potentially lead into greenwashing, and how to prevent greenwashing, and how to motivate them for the reporting, right? So through this session, we just wanted to give a broad idea about what the concept is, how it's evolving globally, in India, what are the major factors a company should look at, what are the internal controls they should build on, and some case studies which gives you an idea broadly how and which industry what happens. So that's the conclusion from me. I hope I could do some justice to your time on a working day. That's my QR code. You can scan this. It will take you to my LinkedIn. My number is there. My email ID is there in case you want to reach out. Any questions? We'll be happy to take.
Yes, there are quite a few questions. Just a second.
We have time, right, ma'am?
Yes, we do
Can
have
I,
some time.
can I play a 5 minute video which will be useful for
Sure,
okay,
sure, sure.
let me reshare my screen. Thank you.
Yes.
Going to screen share. I hope the audio please.
You've seen the labels, 100% recyclable, made from recycled materials, eco-friendly packaging. They make us feel good about our purchases. But what if we told you that many of these claims are just lies? Today's consumers care about the environment more than ever. About 1/3 of shoppers worldwide are willing to pay up to 25% more for sustainable products. For Gen Z, that number jumps to 2/3 who will pay a 10% premium. But in reality, many big brands are exploiting this goodwill through greenwashing, marketing themselves as green while drowning us in plastic. Take the fast food giant, McDonald's, for instance. In 2019, they replaced plastic straws with paper ones all over the UK to reduce single-use plastics in their restaurants. You might also think that's a good initiative, but these paper straws were hardly recyclable and needed specific environmental conditions where they could decompose. And this initiative barely scratches the surface of McDonald's environmental impact. They're still producing about 2 million tons of packaging waste globally each year. While McDonald's is taking small steps, other companies are making even bigger promises they can't keep. Take Nestle, for example. In April 2018, CEO Mark Schneider announced in public,
trying to show some real fast progress with a strong commitment now to the year 2025 to make all our packaging reusable or recyclable. We're also exerting a lot of effort here to help solve the problem that has been
approach the plastic problem. In 2018, they announced to eliminate plastic straws from all their stores. But this time, it wasn't replacing it with paper. Instead, they introduced a new sippy lid for all their beverages. Starbucks presented these lids as a more environmentally friendly alternative. It sounded like a win-win situation. However, it was quickly found that the new lid contained more plastic than the previous straw lid combination. Starbucks argues that these new lids are made from polypropylene, which is more easily recyclable and more widely accepted at recycling centers. But let's put this into perspective. Globally, around 10% of all plastic is properly recycled. So while these lids might theoretically be more recyclable, the reality is that most of them will likely end up in the same place as the old straws and lids, if not taken care of. While some companies are swapping out straws, others are making bold claims about their bottles. Let's talk about Coca-Cola, the world's largest plastic polluter for 6 years. We've actually made a whole documentary about their practices, which you can find on our YouTube channel. Coca-Cola, along with Nestlé and Danone, has recently been called out for potentially misleading statements about their plastic bottles. These companies have claimed their bottles are 100% recycled, but environmental groups argue that this isn't the whole truth. Recycled depends on factors often outside of consumer control. So what can we do about all this? We need to recognize greenwashing when we see it. Companies that truly care about the environment don't just add eco-friendly initiatives when it's convenient. They build sustainability into every part of their business. At EcoCreds, we help such businesses show.
Yeah, so that was a small video we had. I'll come back to the slide. Any questions we can take up now?
Yeah. Hello. Yes, sir. We have quite a few questions. First one is, how can an average consumer differentiate between genuine sustainability efforts and greenwashing?
Hmm. Again, a very generic question for which we were speaking about awareness and doing more deep digging about a lot of stuff. So if I am going to buy something, whether it's a chocolate or a bag of rice or something, and they claim it to be something, I'm going to check on 4 5 websites on the parameters, right? You have channels in YouTube, Indian influencers, who actually go and check the labeling and verifications. If somebody has taken organic label, and some brands even like Dabur and others are putting some organic label, this guy, I think it's called some lab or something, his channel, and this guy goes and tests it in proper labs, 2 3 labs, and verifies whether this claim is correct or not. for ghee, butter, and all these things, for milk, for Horlicks also he has done these kind of assessments. So only thing which you can do as a customer is, because we don't have a database right now in which you can go put the name of the product and find out that this is sustainable. You should be aware more by your lifestyle, what you normally purchase, what you are consuming, both eating and whatever. And you have to know the products and the brand. So you'll have to do your own research. You'll have to read about the things. You have to read the fine prints behind the flashy marketing packagings. Virat Kohli's photo on the front saying it's healthy. So you have to go to the back, check the ingredients, whether it has palm oil or not. You should know what is good for your body and not. Trans fat is good or not, unsaturated fat is good or not. Some bit of science, some general knowledge, some bit of research, because you are consuming these things daily. So self awareness, I think, is the best way to tackle that.
Okay. Okay. Next question is, in your experience, which industries in India are most prone to greenwashing practices?
I'll say power sector, because renewable, non-renewable claims, and also power sector uses, thermal power plant requires a lot of water, but they may not show the exact measurement. Although the emissions which are there, the transport of coal from the coal mines to the power plant, or the mining process of the coal. So there are a lot of gray areas which can be used to say as if there is greenwashing. Now you have something called e-coal, you have something called e-petrol. Now it's a fossil fuel. How can it be, environment friendly? So I think power sector is one of the biggest potential industries for greenwashing. Fast fashion, because the scale is so large. Although each product or garment may have a smaller part of emission, but the scale is so large, the wastage may be so much, the employment conditions will be so severe, that they may have a lot of greenwashing.
Okay. Okay. Next question is, how effective are recent CCPA guidelines 2024 in curbing greenwashing in India?
Yeah, so I could not find any cases after the guidelines came. It was somewhere in November 24 or something only. So no cases I could find. It takes time for penalties and fines to come in the news. And but I do believe that this is at least the first step towards defining greenwashing. And there is a penalty, proper penalty of 10 lakh to 50 lakh. It's not like 1,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees like some of our acts have, like from 50 years it's been going on like that. So there is a proper penalty and there is a risk of imprisonment. If you're making a wrong claim and repetitive offense is there, there's a risk of imprisonment. More than anything, this risk of imprisonment will align at least bigger corporates, not to make unnecessary claims. So we'll have to wait some time to see how effective this is, because it has recently come out. But I believe this is a very good first step.
Okay. With increasing litigation around ESG claims, how should Indian companies strengthen their internal controls to avoid reputational damage?
So like we saw the slide just before this, what organization should do, right? Litigation claim can come against you out of any part of your value chain, because ultimately you are selling the product, you are the brand. Based on your claim, the customer is believing something. So what all aspects we discussed for what organization should do, including life cycle assessment, supply chain review, carbon analysis, all these have to be done, assessed. Then a legal strategy has to be prepared to make sure, in case there is any loophole in any of this, any value chain partner is not aligned with your sustainability parameters, which can result in litigation risk for you, you will have to build mitigating strategy for that. Maybe don't do business with that vendor, or make that vendor align with your sustainability policy. So apart, if you don't do these things, you will never really know what the risk is. Once you identify the risk, then you can have your legal team look into what different acts can trigger penalties, prosecution, imprisonment, and what is the counter to those things.
Next question is, how should organizations strike a balance between promoting their sustainability initiatives and avoiding the perception of exaggeration, greenwashing?
Okay. Okay. So again, I think this is a question between greenwashing and green blushing. It's it's very difficult to answer. It's a very broad question. So you have to follow the reporting. In India, you have BRSR core, follow the reporting. That will ensure that you are reporting what is required under regulation. You want to do best reporting, follow something more than what is required in your jurisdiction. Go for international best practices, go for what's given in SASB standards, go for GRI reporting. By following established and internationally accepted standards and frameworks, you will definitely be toeing the international line and aligned with the international reporting, and you will ensure that there is proper transparent reporting and avoid greenwashing.
Okay. Okay. I think there is one more question. What role can auditors and professionals like chartered accountants play in ensuring credibility of sustainability reporting?
Yeah, first of all, if you are helping them prepare the report, and then all the data is in your hand, and you are going to verify those parameters which are being disclosed. If you are the statutory auditor and you are also the auditor or assurance provider for the sustainability statement, again you have some control over it. And if you guide them properly, if the assessment or assurance is being done properly, you will bring the shortcomings to them, you will help them improve on it, right? And if from the other side, if you're not the auditor or anybody else, but you can help them mitigate their risk by advising them on strategies, how to reduce their carbon emissions, do a life cycle assessment for them, help them, advise them to get proper labels or certifications for their products and services which they might not know. There are MSME funds which are being given by government for startups also. Help them towards those funds in case that can be helped to get the certifications, labeling, all those things. So you can have a multifaceted advisory in this greenwashing space.
Oh, I think these many questions. This was the last question. I think there are no more questions.
Okay, I think I finished well in time, so I'm going to give 10.
Yes. And I just wanted to extend my vote of thanks to everybody present here. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Sustainability Reporting Standards Board of I extend my sincere gratitude to each of you for joining us today for the enlightening webinar on greenwashing and sustainability claims. Your participation has been instrumental in making today's session a success. A heartfelt thanks to our esteemed speaker, CAS Badri Narayanan, for sharing his deep expertise and practical perspectives on greenwashing and sustainability claims. His presentation has deepened our understanding of the frameworks and methodologies, along with highlighting the risk of superficial or misleading claims. The session reminded us that sustainability reporting must go beyond box ticking and narrative building. It should provide investors and stakeholders with disclosures that are transparent, verifiable, and free from greenwashing. Today's discussions reminded us that ESG and BRSR reporting should not be seen as a checklist exercise, but as a responsibility to provide fair, balanced, and trustworthy information. The real challenge is to ensure that disclosures reflect actual progress on sustainability rather than overstated claims. Achieving this will require coordinated effort from corporates, investors, regulators, and professionals to build reporting that inspires confidence and guards against greenwashing. We invite all participants to join us for our upcoming webinar scheduled for Thursday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., where we will continue exploring critical topics in sustainability reporting and best practices. Once again, thank you for your active engagement and thoughtful contributions. Your dedication to advancing sustainability practices is invaluable, and we look forward to your continued involvement in our ongoing initiatives as we collectively pave the way towards a more sustainable and resilient future.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yes, yes.